Welcome into another edition of the James Boyd Podcast. I, of course, am James Boyd, not joined by the random guest, not random guest, but the gracious guest I've had over the last several months. But I'm rejoined by my editor and my co-host, Jim Ayello. We're back, baby. How you
I'm
doing?
back. Woo! I know. I'm pumped. The Jim and James podcast is back up, baby. I love it. No, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling refreshed. I will say that I'm very, very fortunate to work at a place that gives me so much time to spend with my kids, my baby. Joey, we had a baby girl. She is old now. It's weird. I feel like the last time I talked to you guys, she was just a few months old, and now she's like 7 months old. So it's awesome. It was an incredible time. Like I said, super grateful that I get that much time to spend. I never had that ever before with my other two kids, so this was just like it was awesome. Like I said, I got to get to know her in a way that I didn't really get to know the other kids, and I mean I know my other kids. You guys understand? But this was different. I was with her all the time, man. She was my buddy. We went on errands together. We went on walks together. I talked to her. It was great, man. It's like I said, I really loved the time. But I will say. I missed you guys. I really did. I missed talking Colts. Not to say, again, if I had to pick an offseason, if you gave me like the 20,000 foot view of an offseason to miss, this might have been the one for the Colts, like just because it was kind of low key,
Yeah.
but still plenty to happen, still plenty to talk about. But yeah, I missed this. I can't wait to get back into it. So I appreciate you letting me kind of share what was going on with me for a while, but let's people are here to talk Colts. So let's do that.
Well, I do have one more family question,
All right,
and this
hit
is I'm
me.
just curious about. So, as a
Yeah.
father, how are your other kids adjusting to the new addition? How
You
quickly
know,
or not quickly does that happen?
good. So my daughter, who's 3, she is Lila. She loves it. It's like having another. It's a little stereotypical, like having a doll to dress up. She loves
Yeah.
helping out. She loves giving hugs and kisses. And my son is Theo. He's 5. He loves being like he just likes being helper. He likes being helper to mom and dad a lot of times. So he likes going to get a diaper or going to get wipes or going whatever. So no, they're good, man. They've done really well with it actually. And like she just started daycare, so she's going with my daughter. And like Lila loves being the one who takes. This is my. She introduces her to everybody. This is my little sister Joey.
That's awesome.
And yeah, so no, man, it's been good. Everything has been smoother than I thought. I thought Lila was the baby before. I thought she might have a little trouble adjusting to not being the baby anymore. But
Okay.
she no, she did good. She did good. I give her
That's
credit.
good.
So yeah,
All right. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, that basically Jim abandoned me, who I
I
thought was
did.
family, for his own family, um, which I
I already feel
understand.
guilty enough. Don't do it. Don't do it publicly. Yeah.
No. Seriously. I was praying for you, hoping that everything went smoothly, and thankful that the family is happy, healthy. That's all you can ask for, right? And
Doing
then,
great.
as far as like you said, the Colts offseason, it wasn't as chaotic as some of your other beats that you're covering right now, jumping back into things that the day you came back, the Giants signed, OBJ and stuff like that. So it's been a lot more low key here, but I'll start with probably the most pressing news for the Colts is that earlier this week, Daniel Jones, who has made a pretty remarkable comeback from his Achilles
Yeah.
tear already, he's in 7-on-7. That was a pretty big, significant step, I would think, in his rehab. So he's already doing some sort of team activities. And so that to me, when I saw that, Jim, because I was skeptical. You can ask Kevin Bowen, you can ask anybody on the radio here on previous podcasts. I was just skeptical because it's such a major injury he's coming off of. He tore his
Yep.
Achilles December 7th, and here it is June 4th, and he's already running and throwing and dropping back to pass and things like that. So, from your perspective, I mean, you were working that day when he tore his Achilles, and we were all
Oh
working
yeah.
a lot that night. From that moment to this moment, to know that he's doing 7-on-7, and for my eyes, Jim, he was pretty sharp. I mean, I get it. Most quarterbacks should be sharp in 7-on-7, but considering all he's had to go through, how do you feel about him pushing to play in week 1? Because at this point, I would be shocked if he didn't. 9 months,
I think
by
he
the way.
has.
It would be 9 months.
I know. I think he. I think the Colts need him to. Like I said, I don't. The Riley Leonard, played fairly well in his limited time last year, and we don't have to get into the Anthony Richardson and all yet. We can maybe talk about that another time. But they need him. Like the Colts and Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard, like they're betting it all on Daniel Jones being the guy. I mean, we saw. We don't have to go through free agency again, but getting that deal done with him, paying him as much money as they did, when I'm not even sure that there were a lot of other suitors who would have been willing to go that way with him. And like they could have put themselves in the Kyler Murray sweepstakes and been like, well, why don't we just pay the minimum for a guy who's probably as talented or more, even more just physically talented than Daniel Jones? And they didn't want to. They were like, no, we know what we have with Daniel Jones. We know we can trust it. We know we can run the offense that Shane Steichen wants to run. We know he's got a rapport with all these guys, and they're running it back. Like, good or bad, whether you think that as a Colts fan, that's what's happening. They're running it back with these guys. And so they need him to be ready to week one. And from what, the word that Shane used in the story that you wrote about it was relentless and not surprising. Again, like that was one of the things that having covered him in New York, as the editor there, like not surprised that he was one of the hardest working guys ever to get back from this kind of thing. And not surprising that he is hell bent on proving people wrong, even if he won't say it out loud that, hey, they tell me I can't come back in this time, or hey, I'm not going to be good with the Colts. Like, he does have that type of brain, I think. Again, as much as he doesn't want to share it sometimes publicly. So I can't help but be impressed. Like you said, when he tore his or the Achilles, I should say, I thought, okay, well, they're gonna have to figure out a plan for the first half of the season next year, because I know it won't be Anthony Richardson because he's gonna want out, and I don't know how they're gonna do that. Like, I don't know how they're gonna piece this thing together. They have to draft somebody, sign another veteran. I think you and I talked about it. Like, they might just have to sign another, some like a Jimmy Garoppolo type to just kind of buy them time for a few weeks, and doesn't seem like that's going to happen. So impressed, obviously, with Daniel Jones. I do think, like, we've seen these quarterbacks come back from Achilles tears the next year. The Kirk Cousins of the world, the Aaron Rodgers of the world are obviously, 10 years older when they did that. So give Daniel Jones the benefit of the doubt on being able to do it a little faster. But those guys were not the same players when they came back right away. They played, but they weren't the same players right away. So I guess I'll say this carefully because I've doubted Daniel Jones before and been proven wrong. But I'm going to need to see. I'm going to need to see it first that he is. I'm not going to doubt that he's going to be available week one. I think, like you said, I think that seems to be what
Yeah.
the track that we're on. But what kind of quarterback is he going to be? Because mobility is still a big part of his game, and I am curious to see, with that not at 100%, because it can't be. I mean, it can't be 100% in terms of like his mobility back to the athleticism that he has. What kind of quarterback can he be for this team?
Yeah, and to be clear, he did say, "Hey, I'm 5 months, 3 weeks in. I think at this point, probably about a month. I'm sorry, not a month. About 6 months removed from having the surgery." And he was like, "Look, I'm not there yet, but I'm getting
Yeah,
there." And I do think, just to be transparent, when I'm watching him, there are a couple of different movements where I'm like, "Okay, you probably don't fully trust the Achilles yet." And he said, like, "Yeah, I haven't reached the point where." For example, Tyrese Halliburton tore his
right,
way obviously earlier than Daniel Jones. So when we talked to
right.
Tyrese at the end of the season, he's like, "Yeah, I'm back running. I'm not really thinking about it. Now it's just more so like cardio and get my body back right." Whereas with Daniel, he was like, "Yeah, it's still kind of a conscious, subconscious thing of if I plant, if I cut, how do I build more trust in it?" But to your point about his resilience, which makes it so easy to root for the guy
Yeah,
from a teammate standpoint or a fan standpoint, is that one, he's just tough as you know what, because he plays through everything. And that's why his teammates, even in New York, even after he got banished from there, basically, they all still
yeah,
respected him and showed him a lot of love. He'll play through anything, he'll be tough. But on top of that, he's not the type to say anything that's really newsworthy. You know that, Jim, more than I do, having covered him longer than I have. But when we did our interview last week with him, Jim,
yep,
the most forceful part of it was being ready for week one. Everything else was kind of like the company line. Oh, the offense looks good. We're going to implement new players and we're going to work hard. And, I'm so grateful to be out here. But every time he was asked, okay, but like week one for real? Absolutely. No doubt. Ready to go. Like, so and when I say no doubt, he's saying no doubt in his mind that he's going to intend to play in week one. He's not saying
right.
for sure I'll be available, but he made it very clear I have every intention of doing so. And assuming that I hit all these milestones like I'm supposed to, I will be available. And he left no wiggle room, no room for misinterpretation. And I thought that was the biggest I'm him moment from Daniel Jones
Yeah,
early in his Colts career, outside of obviously playing pretty well to start last season. But it was kind of like, you guys must not know who I am. And so we do. And I do expect him to be available for week one. And again, just remarkable to see him out there. When we were out there for OTAs, Jim, they were doing a lot of red zone work. And breaking news, the starting quarterback was the best looking one in the short yardage situations. But he threw some dimes to Ashton Dulin, who could be a big part of this offense this year with the departure of Michael Pittman Jr. So he
uh-huh.
threw two touchdown passes to Michael Pittman Jr., but his first throw of the day in 7-on-7, he throws one on like a kind of like a intermediate post route to Tyler Warren. And I was like, oh, this is getting picked because it hung in the air so long. And lo and behold, it is a perfect pass that he just threaded through two defenders. Like maybe, I don't know, they should have played the ball better, but throws this beautiful seed, Tyler Warren right in the bucket, boom. And we all kind of look around like, yeah, that's the guy we saw early on in the season last year. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be an MVP candidate or even a Pro Bowler, but I would say in this offense, when he was healthy, he was playing at a Pro Bowl caliber level. So we'll see what that means moving forward for this offense. I know you mentioned a little bit like, hey, Anthony Richardson, we might not get into it. Here's why I think that we kind of have to. I would have been
Yeah.
like off of talking about this to a degree, but Jim, another newsworthy item from last week, heading into this week, and especially heading into a mandatory minicamp next week, when we get to see all the practices from mandatory minicamp through training camp from here on out, is this statement from Shane that, oh, by the way, it is an open QB competition for the backup role between Anthony and Riley, but Anthony still has an open trade request. So I know he's saying that it'll be open. We've seen that it's been even. They've split the reps, and he's not lying about that. But how even do you think it really is, Jim? Or two-part question. How even do you think it really is in the mind of Shane Steichen? And how even do you personally think it should be when Anthony still wants to be traded? I've been told that by multiple people.
So I can't help but see like the business side of this, to be honest with you. Like, I think if I'm the Colts, until I trade him, he's the number two quarterback. Like he's the backup. We have, he's come back, he's working hard, everything's good, all that stuff. Behind the scenes, my bet is that Shane is waiting for that to be not a distraction anymore for him. Not to say that Anthony's being a distraction, but the trade request is out there, right? It's hanging over the heads
Yeah.
of everybody.
And
Again,
Shane
not a
went out of his
huge
way, by the way, to tell us, hey, he ain't rescinded that trade request.
right. I don't think. Listen, I don't want to read too much into. I don't want to be a marriage counselor here or anything like that, but like, I don't think the Shane Anthony relationship is great. I don't think that they're necessarily they want to work together anymore. They don't want to be married anymore. I think they'd like to go their separate ways. I think that's true for Anthony, as we know he's made the trade request, and I think Shane has probably told Chris Ballard like, whatever you can get for this guy, like go ahead and get it and move on. That's my read on the situation. However, if you're trying to maximize the return on a guy like this, and they haven't been able to move him, so you do question about how much his
Right.
worth is around the NFL, but you don't want to be like third string behind Riley Leonard because what message does that send the rest of the NFL is that he's just done and you're gonna have to just cut him at that point. I think. So I think right now you say he's an open competition, and I think in Shane's mind he's thinking by week one Riley Leonard's a backup quarterback. That's what that to me that's my read on the situation. I don't have any inside information, but I am curious as to like what do you say like both because you have both being able to watch these quarterbacks and
Yeah.
see that Anthony's getting, a lot of reps, some of them with the first team reps. Um, so I guess like what's your read on being able to see like you get to both see them and on the business side of like kind of reading the tea leaves of what you're hearing.
Yeah, well, let's start with what we've seen so far. I would say this week in particular, and again, we only see one day of OTAs each week leading up to veteran minicamp, so we'll have a better understanding next week when we had a chance to, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 consecutive days, just gauge it all together at once, because obviously I can't report on the days that I'm not there unless I were able to break in and, get banned or something like that. But when it comes to Riley and Anthony, I thought both kind of struggled in the red
Okay.
zone period. Neither one looked that great. Anthony got picked off by Jalen Jones, and Riley, I don't think either one really had a touchdown pass during those periods. But on the days last week, I thought they looked a little better. Those were more like, hey, let's drive down the field types of plays. And I thought both of them had some really good throws. But my overall point in saying that is they're young and they're flawed. They're going to show flashes, but they're also going to show you why they probably shouldn't be the guy right away. And when it comes to Anthony, I do think he's probably the most talented or the more talented quarterback of the two, given where he was drafted and the physical gifts that he has
Yeah.
when he is healthy. That's clear. But I do wonder when you talk about Shane, just how much Shane is willing to maybe revisit the whole Anthony Richardson thing. Because he said, and this is a great question by my colleague Kevin Bowen from 1075 The Fan, he asked him, like, why give him reps if you don't know for sure he's going to be here? And Shane said, well, he could be. And so if you're going to be here, you're going to compete. But here's also, I'll read you some of the responses from Shane last week when he was asked about both quarterbacks. So he was asked, hey, what have you liked about Riley Leonard so far during OTAs? His answer, he's in really good. He's got great command in the huddle. He's continuing to learn the game, growing in that nature, growing through his reads, going through his progressions, working on his accelerated vision, and going through that stuff. It's been good to see. The very next question, what do you like about Anthony Richardson? So, senior. Yeah, he's been good. Obviously, getting him back in the fold, coming back a couple weeks ago, going through it, still growing, all those different things. Continue to learn and grow just like all our other players. But it's good to see him out here with the guys for sure. So maybe
Heck
I'm
of a
reading too
salesman,
much
that
into
Shane,
it.
Shane Steichen.
I mean, but Jim, like, what's your reaction? I'll give mine real quick. But
Yeah.
on one hand, I hear tangible things that this quarterback is doing that I like, and the
Mhm.
other one is, well, he's here.
No, I think you're reading between the lines exactly what is there. That relationship is over. Like, I don't think Shane wants to say nice things about him. I don't think he wants to say mean things about him. I
Right.
don't I don't like, again, I should be clear. I don't think like Shane hates Anthony or
Yeah, I
anything
think
like
Shane
that.
is like apathetic at this point.
Yeah, I think he's just like, that's not my guy quarterback wise, and when he's gone, great. If he's here, fine. The other thing is too is I get the question about why give Anthony snaps. It makes sense, but like, you want Riley to earn it. You want Riley to have
That's
to
a good point
compete.
too.
Like, you
Yeah.
don't want to just give it to him after that. So even if Riley even if Shane knows that Riley Leonard's going to be the backup quarterback, you don't want Riley to know that. You don't want Riley to operate that way. You want him to operate like he's in a tough competition with a top 5 draft pick for the backup quarterback spot. Like, at least that's the mentality I would want my backup quarterback to have. So I think that would be um, the message I was trying to send to him. So, not the worst thing for the Colts. I don't honestly see this as a bad situation for the Colts. Anthony seems to be. I mean, given the way he interacted with the media last week. I was texting you. I thought he handled it. I think it was very professional. I thought he handled the questions
Yeah.
really, really well, about as well as you could. It seems like he's putting in the work. I mentioned to you, he looks like he's in. Oh God, I hate to say these words because it's such a cliche, but he does look like he's in the best shape of his life. Um, I
Oh
hate it.
no, you
I
cursed him.
know.
Whenever you hear that, it's
Yeah,
down
it's June
bad.
4th too. I was
Oh
just like,
gosh.
he does, but he did look.
He slimmed
He looked a
down.
little.
That's
He
for
did
sure.
slim down. He looked really good. Not to say that he was ever in bad shape. I think Anthony Richardson, we know, is always kind of a physical freak, so he's always in
Mhm.
great shape. But he looked good. Um, I think it's all promising stuff. And again, I don't think he's going to make himself a big distraction. I think he's trying to make himself an appealing trade target. And being a big distraction with your team is bad, especially when you have some of the knocks that you've had on you in the past about being kind of
Yeah.
unprofessional and unreliable and things like that. So I think he's going to be as good a soldier as he can be in this situation. And I think the Colts are going to treat him, with the level of respect they should of a professional quarterback on their team. And I think they're going to do as much as they can to, I don't even say drum up his trade value, but just make him a tradable asset that is worth a fifth, a sixth, a seventh round pick. At this point, it's probably going to be day 3. Though it's tough, man. Like, the teams that Anthony, I'm guessing when he put in the trade request, and I think he has a good relationship with Chris Ballard. Like, I think he probably said there are some teams I'd like to go to in order to rebuild my value. And I'm sure Chris said, let's engage with those teams and see if they're interested. I think Minnesota's obviously the number one everybody brought up. Like, that's going to be tough though. Like, with Kyler, and you already have the JJ McCarthy thing. Like, I don't know if they want another project with the JJ McCarthy thing. Like, you bring up, like, the Rams came up as the backup to Stafford. Well, they kind of invested in their young guy, right? Like, they got Ty Simpson now. The Chiefs, like, they signed Justin Fields to be the backup. They also drafted Garrett Nussmeier, so that seems to be their project. Like, that's settled. Like, a lot of the quarterback whispery teams, like the guys where you can rebuild your value. There's other places out there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying those are the only 3, but like, the spots have been filled. A lot of spots where like Anthony would want to go to try to rebuild his value, be a backup quarterback. So I am curious as to, it might take a quarterback injury or something like that before a trade gets made. But I don't know. Do you? Yeah, I mean, not to put you in a spot of like making a bold prediction, but give me to September 1st. I think cut down day is like August 28th or something like that. But give me
Yeah.
to September 1st. We'll just say, is Anthony traded, cut, or the a backup quarterback on the Colts? Like, where are you right now? Where are you leaning right now, I should say?
I'm here on a job site with Tim, who owns his own electrical contracting business.
3 employees and 2 work trucks.
Tim traded up to Geico Commercial Auto Insurance. We're positively here where he needs us most.
They sure are.
With step-by-step help on all his insurance needs, all for shockingly low rates.
Shockingly low, huh?
Just a little bit of electrician humour. Do you get it?
I got it.
You know, it feels like we have a real connection. All right, I'll stop.
Get a commercial auto insurance quote today at geico.com and see how much you could save. It feels good to Geico.
I'm going to say, because, I love being bold, he's on this roster.
Okay.
I don't think he gets
That is the
traded
boldest
unless,
take, I think.
Yeah, I think that barring an injury to another quarterback in the league, a backup somewhere, I think he's going to be here. And I think that from a couple different standpoints. One, I think that he probably still is your best backup over Riley. And I get that there might be some differences there with Shane Steichen, but it's funny you mentioned the relationship kind of therapy, because I made the joke that, man, do they need couples therapy? Do they need like marriage counseling? Because Chris Ballard, if he's saying, hey, I can't move this guy and you're the coach, you got to make it work. So I don't know if there needs to be some come to Jesus meeting or something, but that has to be a factor. And then on top of that, to your point from earlier, Riley hasn't earned anything. So if it isn't Anthony challenging him, who is it? Because I can't sit up here with a straight face and tell you, well, he played about 2 real games last year and he looked pretty good. So, yep, let's just hand him the keys. No, because that backup role is so valuable for this team because of the injury history of Daniel Jones. We're not talking about someone who's had some crazy Iron Man streak like Phillip Rivers had, which he extended when he crazily came out of retirement with the Colts. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a player who, through his first 7 years in the league, has only finished one of them fully healthy without being injured or benched. So that, to me, kind of puts a spotlight on how important this backup position could be. And it's just complicated because of the trade request still being out there, and some of the previous history with Anthony, and, obviously Riley in the fold. So there's a lot there that I'm very curious about to see, okay, how do you move forward? Is there a path forward that makes sense for all parties involved? And then for Anthony, I know you might want to get moved, but if you are able to be the backup this season, the chances of you getting an opportunity to play and show the league that you can still play heading into the final year of your contract, heading into free agency next year, it's right there. I don't know if you get that opportunity elsewhere. So there's a lot of moving parts there, and I'm just curious to see how it all plays out. But I would lean towards him staying at this point. I just don't think his trade value is there at all, really. And to be blunt, I think people are still curious about the eye. Like, let's see you play actual football. And he said, Jim, that he's fine, but he nor the team will say, have you regained your full vision? I have asked that question in those words, and his response last week was, I'm good now. I'm throwing the football fine. I got cleared. That wasn't a yes. So, and even if it isn't a yes, let's say, hey, and this isn't a report, I'm just saying, let's say for the hypothetical, his eye isn't the same. But if you can go out there and just play football and do it at a fairly decent level and show people that, hey, this isn't something that's going to hinder me for my career, then maybe that can help you raise your stock. So I'm curious about that. And the last point I'll make is, I know he has a roster bonus due, I think it's August 1st. And if he's on the roster by then, the Colts have to pay him like $4.3 million. So after that, would a team be more willing to try to go get him because he's cheaper? Is that something that factors into the equation? I'm not sure, but
that's a good point.
Yeah, these are all, again, it's with Anthony. I wish things were more normal, but there never are. Really, no quarterback situation here in Indianapolis has been normal since Andrew Luck left. But that's what we are. That's what we are.
I was going to say, you know what? It's funny. I think you did a great job there, because when I asked you that question, I think I was leaning toward they're going to cut him, and I think you talked me out of it. I
don't think they will.
Yeah, I think you talked me out of it. Though, I'll say this: if he has 3 bad preseason games, I think they might cut him. Like, if he just outright loses the backup quarterback thing, and he's like going to be third string, I think he'll just ask for his release, and they will probably grant it. Would be my guess.
And that's a question he also didn't really want to get into, last week. Which we're not at that point yet.
Not yet.
But it
Yeah.
is a fair question to kind of theorize as this thing kind of moseys along.
I think if he plays well in the preseason, there's a chance he rebuilds his trade value to a point where he could get again that Chris Ballard could reasonably pull the trigger on a 6th round pick, something like that. I don't know, and like you said, he'd be cheaper. There'd be other quarterback injuries around the league. I could see a spot opening up where they were like, it's I think it's what 4. I think he's due like what 10 million this year, yeah,
Yeah.
10.8. So if he's only due 6, something like that, where they could say, okay, let's 6th round pick, we'll take the rest of the contract, and there we go. He's the backup quarterback, the third string quarterback. But yeah, I do think this will get strung out till other teams, like you said, can see him play and see what the vision is like and if the eye is affecting him at all. Because again, like why would you give up real assets if you don't think this guy is healthy enough to go in terms of the eye? Like if you think his vision is permanently damaged, then you can't trade anything for him. You got to wait and see. So you let the Colts take the risk. You let the Colts play him in the preseason, and he will, right? Because Daniel Jones, they're not going to want to roll those dice very often, I don't think, with that coming off that Achilles. So he's going to get some playtime if he's still on this team when the preseason rolls around.
Oh, absolutely. And just to clarify one quick thing on AR when it comes to his contract. So I had to actually talk about this and go over this with Stephen Holder and Mike Chappell, who are, gurus when it comes to some of these unique situations. So to be clear about Anthony, yes, he has like the $10.8 million cap hit or whatever for this season.
Right.
But if he gets traded right now, you'd have to pay him about 5.4. But if he's
Okay.
on the roster by August 4th and the Colts have to pay him about $4 million, long story short, if he gets traded after that, then the amount that he's owed in a trade is about like $1.5 million.
Just the base salary.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
yeah,
like
yeah.
a
Gotcha.
team
Okay.
will probably be like, you know what, for
That's cheap.
as cheap
Yeah.
as that is, even though it's kind of late into the preseason and we're close to the season, and he would
Yeah.
have to learn a whole new offense, all that. Maybe we do take a flyer on a top 4 pick from a few years ago. So just want to make that very clear. But the last point I
Gotcha.
want to make, you're fine. Hey, we're all catching up, and trust me, when I wasn't bugging you about this, I was trying to be respectful of the family. I was bugging, like I said, a couple of mentors on the beat and my editor. Shout out to Mike Santoni for stepping in about all these weird things going on with the team. And the last thing I want to make is, and kind of to bring it to some of the more not newsy but newer stuff that we've written and talked about here. I think the first story you might have edited since coming back from me, edge rusher. How much of a priority do you think it is to add, quite frankly, an old guy to that room, perhaps as a flyer, as something of insurance? What's your read on that, knowing that they're banking on Latu? Sounds like they're banking on JT Tuimoloau, who barely played last year. And, some of these newer additions that they signed in free agency, Arden Key, Michael Clemens, who aren't proven starters, but somebody's got to start.
This defense makes me so nervous, man. It's such a house of cards. Like I'm looking at it, you look at the first line of the depth chart, and you're like, I could see how this might work. Probably, maybe,
know.
could. And then you look at the second line of the depth chart, and I'm like, oh my god, if they have like 2 injuries, this is going to fall apart. Like
I know.
I was wondering while I was editing your story yesterday, because again, as people know, I edited the Giants too. I was like, the Colts should pull a Giants and have 4 defensive ends in for a workout and sign 3 of them. Like the Giants just signed them. Like we're gonna have Odell in, we're gonna have Juju in, we're gonna have Braxton Berrios in, and we're signing all of them, and we'll just see what happens. I was like, when I saw your list, I was like, yes, give me Von Miller, give me Joey Bosa, give me Jadeveon Clowney, and we'll just see what happens. Like, no, I mean honestly, you can't do that, but like cap space wise, they have some wiggle room to
That's what I'm
maybe do
saying.
2 of these guys if they really wanted
Yeah,
to.
they have plenty of cap space.
Well, and we know because, and again, like we also have the tell of they were in on Trey Hendrickson, so they know they need to upgrade. Again, I'm sure Bell would explain it as a special circumstance. He's obviously a significantly better player than anybody that's left out out in free agency right now. And also, like I think a lot of these guys. Shouldn't say I think. I know a lot of these guys have zero interest in participating in like OTAs and mandatory minicamp.
Yeah.
These vets. So they're like, yeah, I'll wait till beginning of training camp, middle of training camp, and get through some of that stuff, the hot days, and then maybe I'll sign. So that could be part of the holdup. I'm not saying that's the Colts are like they have a deal in place with Joey Bosa, but I do think that's probably what's going on with a lot of these guys, that these kind of mercenary edge rushers that are out there. So, but yeah, man, I look at the depth chart and I I am a believer in Leatu Latu. I got a refresher yesterday going through your story on, I went through his pressure numbers and some of the other stuff that he was able to do last year, and I do believe that guy has like star level production capabilities. Not like superstar. I'm not saying like 16, 17, 18 sacks. I think that's not to say he can't, but maybe kind of wishful thinking. But I could see this guy getting to 12 to 14 sacks a year. Like I definitely could see that guy getting it, given what he can do on a down to down basis. That said, if teams don't have anybody else to fear, it's going to be really, really hard. And this is a question across the entire defensive line. It's not just about the defensive ends. Like, I mean, you can talk about it and you should. The DeForest Buckner thing is concerning. And
Preach, brother.
the DeForest Buckner, he is such a like the straw that stirs the drink. I know we got this back with the Eberflus thing. He's like, we need the 3 tech, and that's the not Eberflus. I mean, yeah, it was Eberflus that was there for that. Like, we need the 3 tech, and like I know the defense is different now, but like without Buckner being Buckner, doing what he does on the interior and getting the double teams that he gets, everyone's life becomes so much harder. And so, yeah, I'm very concerned that they do not have the depth to make this like. Just watch, like, think about what the Seahawks did to you last year. Like, there wasn't, I bet you guys, most people, like, Leonard Williams is, I guess, the closest thing you could say to they had to a star, defensive end, interior defensive line. We kind of went back and forth, but, like, they just sent waves, man. They had, like, 6, 7, 8 guys. Like, if you could, they come out for a series or come out for a couple downs and they bring in 2 more guys who are fresh and can get after the quarterback. And they bring in 2 more guys who are fresh and get after the quarterback. Like, I don't know if the Colts have 3 of those guys. And maybe I'm wrong. We will see in training camp some of these young guys can prove themselves, but, like, maybe Arden Key is rejuvenated, and again, I know he's not a bad player, but like I am concerned that they don't have the waves to send to people. I am concerned that they definitely don't have the star power to send to people. So what do you have? I mean, this is a team that finished, I think it was 24th in pressure rate last year, like, and they lost a bunch of their better players. I'm very, very concerned about where this is going, defensive line.
Very good point, because as I wrote in my piece this morning, yes, you could say, yeah, we're not bringing back Samson Ebukam. We're not bringing back Tyquan Lewis. We're not bringing back Kwity Paye. But have you upgraded? Have you gotten better? Have you gotten worse? Is probably even a question that's fair to ask with that group. And you bring up a good point with DeForest Buckner, because I didn't get a chance to talk to, I'm sorry to make that clear, that enunciate better. I did get a chance to talk to him at his camp. Shout out to my godson, AJ Martin, in the house. Took him to DeForest Buckner's camp. But as I was telling AJ, look, brother, I love you. I will be the godfather, the parent, all that. But for 30 seconds, really about 2 minutes, I need to go talk to DeForest Buckner about something that's kind of serious, and it's his neck. And if DeForest Buckner, who, by the way, I'll say this and put this out there, and not to speculate, but just to kind of give you all a bit of a comparison, I feel way more confident in Daniel Jones being available for week 1 than I do for DeForest Buckner. Because I kind of pushed him on it. I kind of pressed him on it, Jim, like, hey, how's the neck? Are you going to be ready for training camp? And he just kept saying, he wouldn't commit to any date. Said he's making good progress. He said the Colts might want to bring him along slowly. And he also mentioned the goal is week 1. Not that I will be ready by week 1. I'll be out there. It was not as definitive as Daniel Jones saying, absolutely, that's always been my goal, and I intend to be out there. He was basically saying, like, we got to play this slow. And yes, I could be available, but I can't guarantee that by week 1, which makes me a little scared to just kind of realize that, hey, the guy that I, lovingly and jokingly call God's favorite, super tall, born in Hawaii, great football player, great family, high character, is that dude finally showing signs of being human? Because for so long, he never got hurt or played through every injury. But the last couple of years, I think in 2025, 2024, I'm sorry, was the high ankle sprain, missed time with that. And then this time it's the neck. And he did mention, kind of in passing about a month or two ago, Jim, hey, I got to maybe change my technique. Followed up on that. And he said, yeah, I got to figure out ways to basically just be safe when I'm out there. But what does safe look like? Can you be your same self when you probably play in the most or the least controlled environment on the field because of the trenches and the bodies that bang into you and the unorthodox movements? Like, there is no backup running back or there's no Jonathan Taylor to pick up that blitzer when you're in the trenches. Like, there's nobody to help you from the blind side and things like that. So I'm very curious. And yeah, if DeForest Buckner isn't DeForest Buckner, and that means more attention goes to Latu, then that breakout year makes it even harder to have, especially if the other guys aren't making it happen. So I would lean towards, hey, let me sign one quote unquote washed up guy, or one guy whose name is probably bigger than his game at this point in his career. But just to see, and my thing is, yeah, you're telling us Jalen Tuimoloau can be a player. You're telling us that Arden Key and Michael Clemens can be guys that make an impact, and you can, do this by committee. That's all fine and dandy, but just add somebody to the committee. If you're going to use that approach, I don't see the downside of, hey, let's go spend, let's call it, I don't know, $5 million on this older pass rusher. And if he doesn't work out, then whatever. It's a 1-year deal. You still have plenty of cap space. You're not handicapping yourself. I probably shouldn't use that word. I'm sorry. I'm trying to use better, more inclusive language. You won't, hinder yourself going forward by doing that. So that's kind of my read on it. But again, Latu, it all starts, it kind of stops with him. Outside of DeForest Buckner interiorly for the defensive line, if that's even a word, on the interior. But, on the outside, there you go. Making up words here. You can do that on the podcast. I can't do that in stories.
No,
so.
I'd have to edit that out in the story.
Exactly.
But here we're fine. So,
just to put a button on it, I do think that a lot is riding on Latu to step up. And it's year 3, man. And what's crazy is, I don't even know if I'll put this in my story, Jim. The Colts haven't had a 10-sack player since Justin Houston.
God, that's so crazy. Back in my day, back when I was covering the team.
And I think that was, if I'm looking at this correctly, that was 2019.
Oh, good. I was about to guess that. Yep,
so,
2019.
There you have it. I mean,
no, man,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's like I said, it's terrifying. This team, I hate to be that guy, but like if they had figured out the Trey Hendrickson thing, like I know. I think I wouldn't be like all in on this Colts defense, but I'd feel a lot better about where things stood right now. So I get, I think Chris Ballard really fights with himself on the veteran additions a lot of the time, the older guys especially, because I really think he's a guy that believes in giving younger players snaps and letting them develop. And I don't think he wants to take those reps away from young guys. So I think he really does fight with himself on when do I need to pull the trigger on some of these like aging vets and get him in here versus like letting these young guys figure it out. So I do think he's probably happy to get mandatory minicamp OTAs, let these young guys take a lot of the reps, even in the beginning of training camp, give them a lot of reps and then see where they're at. I mean, if and he can wait, like I said, I don't think a lot of those vets that you wrote about in your story, which people should go check out. Like, I don't think those guys are itching to get on the field for training camp or anything like that. So I think they got some time to watch. Like, you hope you get a Justin Wally situation, right? Where like, we got something here. Like, we don't need to go add another corner. We got our guy. Obviously, he ended up getting hurt, and that didn't happen last year. But that's what you want to happen in training camp is you give this guy reps, and then you're like, yeah, this is real. We got a guy here, and that's what you're hoping to see. So I think Ballard is maybe biding his time a little bit and hoping that he sees some out of these young edge rushers. But I do think at the end of the day, adding one more veteran body to this mix, like you said, get him in the mix. If you get the right guy, these guys become mentors, to some of the younger guys and help them develop. So I would hope and think that the Colts need to, add one more. Don't think there's pressure to do it right now, but when we're talking, middle of July, August, middle of August, that would be the time.
Yeah, one last note I'll make real quick because I know I got to get out of here. I don't want to waste, I don't say waste, but I don't want to take up too much of you guys' time. I appreciate you all listening. But Ed Dodds said the quiet part out loud, Colts assistant GM. We talked to him about, the whole waiting to sign a veteran. He was like, well, yeah, veterans want to wait because if somebody gets injured, then that means I can ask for more money or I can ask for more guarantees and I don't have to go through all the wear and tear on my body. And he also said from a team perspective, you may not want to get the old guy out there for every single, training camp practice. You might want to wait to a degree to keep them fresher for the actual games. And so that'll wrap it up for this episode of the James Boyd Podcast. Of course, I'm grateful to have Jim back in the fold. Jim, it was great to hear you. See you for the first time in quite some time. And for those listening, you can expect regular episodes from me and my co-hosts for, I would say, probably about once a week in the offseason, and we'll pick it up as things, see fit. So until next time, my friends, you all stay safe, enjoy the summer, and we'll check in with you all very, very soon.